So what do you do when you're in a situation where you're seeing your loved ones or like your friends making financial decisions, or being in situations where they're making financial decisions that you think are not great for them, or you already know like, nah, this financial decision is not good for this person? Do you get involved? Do you say something? Do you just leave them and watch them do it? And what do you do, especially if they're in a relationship now and they're making these financial decisions with their partner, for example? Do you then keep quiet and just say, you know, I just have to respect the relationship, it is what it is? Or do you say, no, but that's my person, that's my sister, that's my friend, I need to get involved, I need to say something? So basically the question is, do you then get involved when it comes to other people's financial decisions, especially when they're in relationships? Or do you decide, nah, you know, I'm going to keep my peace, I'm going to keep quiet? What do you do? So in this video, we're basically going to be breaking it down, certain things that you can do to sort of help you navigate such situations, and certain ramifications you should be mindful of if you then do decide to go down the road of saying something. Certain things can happen. So yeah.
First of all, it's a tricky position to be in, because obviously as an outsider you have a different perspective to somebody who's in
Inside,
a particular
yeah.
position and situation. And so sometimes as an outsider looking in, you can notice that, this doesn't look right, this doesn't feel right, you know, this, you're heading down a dangerous path here. And so you could be juggling with this notion in your head of saying, okay, do I intervene or do I not?
Yeah.
And also, if I, you know, and first of all, the fact that you're thinking that shows that you care for that person,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're thinking it and you care for them, you're then thinking to yourself, well, because I care for them, surely I have to say something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I have to get involved.
I have to get involved.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, what kind of friend am I? But then if I don't get involved, then do you start to like, would I be okay with that? Do I feel comfortable with doing so? And what kind of friend or family member or brother or whatever would I be
if I don't?
If I don't say anything? So a couple examples of this. So one example might be that you're noticing that the person in question, that they are going down a very dangerous path with gambling. You may even notice that they're going down an interesting path with their spending habits, and recently they've just started their lifestyle is just kind of really ramped up. But you kind of like, okay, this, I'm happy for you, but like, be careful, because now you're going down a dangerous path of lifestyle creep, and you're gonna probably end up going into more debt to sustain this lifestyle, and all those other things. So there's all things that you might start to notice and see that you're like, okay, I feel like I need to say something.
Yeah.
But for me, this speaks to another problem, and that problem is what we call pocket watching.
Which I think we all do. Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest, guys. I think we all do it. I think maybe we don't intentionally do it to be malicious, where we're like, okay, but why do they do that? But let's be honest. There's times maybe when your friends will say things like, oh, we're getting that car. And you sit there and think, bro, I know your financial situation.
Oh, I have an idea.
Yeah, I have an idea. Or maybe you've told me, number one.
Exactly.
You've been open enough to tell me your financial situation, or I've got an idea of what your financial situation is like. Why are you getting that car? I may not say it to you directly, but in my head, I'll probably leave and think, come on now.
So those ones where you're just like, okay, you're pulling up in a Jag or a Range Rover, and yet we know that your pockets aren't quite that deep.
And I think
the situation.
Yeah, and I think it's actually worse if it's actually a couple, because I feel like if it's just one person, like if my brother, for example, was doing something like that, I feel like as a sister, I probably could then say something and be like, oh, what's going on? Like, what's life saying these days? Type of things, without approaching it from a judgmental perspective. But when it's a couple, two people in a relationship, and then you're seeing this sort of thing happen, would you get involved? Would you say something?
It's a tough one. No, it's a tough one, because like I said, pocket watching alone is that's a very difficult position, because first of all, why are you watching my pockets? That's like the first initial reaction in your head. Is like, why are you watching my pockets? Like, if you're not paying for it, why are you bothered? Like, it's not coming out of your pocket. I know you care for me.
Good point.
Cool.
Good point.
but it's not coming out your wallet. So what's up?
Yeah.
You know, so that for me, that's what I think, and I'm just like, okay, because it's one of those situations where it's not come out your wallet. It's not. You're not paying for it, and it's my own money. I have the freedom to do what I want with my
Yeah.
money, even though you disagree with that. And cool, you disagree, fine. But you go ahead and do what you want to do with your money. That's you don't see me pocket watching you back.
Yeah.
If it was like a a reciprocity kind of situation, I do it for you, you do it to me. Oh, calm.
Then it's normal.
Happy days.
It's fine.
But if you're just gonna come up to me randomly out the blue and be like, "Hey, bro, I've noticed you're making these decisions," and I just, I feel like we need to have a chat about your finances. You're like, whoa, who do you think you are? Like,
Now-
that's for me. That's my initial reaction.
So I get where you're coming from, but I think I'm also of the mindset that as much as I see the whole "who do you think you are" type of thing, I think there's also a level of sometimes when you're the one doing it and you're the one spending the money and you're the one making these financial decisions, sometimes you're so blinded by what you're doing that someone who's looking from the outside in can see from a different perspective, and maybe they're saying something to you because they were also the person that was doing that and they know
Fair
where
enough.
that road leads to. So then for them it's like, no, I'm trying to protect you, I'm trying to just have your back, and maybe you don't realize the hole that you're digging yourself by doing what you're doing. So they may then say something. So it's not really maybe coming from a pocket watching perspective, but more for, I just want to protect you, don't make the same mistakes that I made. But like I was saying, it's a lot harder to then sort of approach that when the people that you're talking to or the people you're trying to advise are in a relationship, because that's two people, and I have no business being in two people's relationship. I shouldn't really be in it, but then it's hard to not say something at the same time, especially if it's maybe your sister or your brother that you're talking about.
Listen, for me personally, I can't think of a single example, relationship or not, family, friend, or well, maybe stranger is a slight difference, but family or friend, I can't see any scenario where that conversation would be productive.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I can't see any scenario where you're wanting to interject yourself into somebody else's financial position, and then you're wanting to then say, XYZ, I think you're doing this wrong. I think
Yeah.
you're doing this wrong.
Oh,
I
the
think
minute
should do
you
this
say, I
instead.
think you're doing this wrong,
I
and
can't
it's
see-
someone's money.
I can't
Nah.
see how that's
I
any
don't see it
constructive
going well.
conversation.
Yeah.
It's different if it's the other way around. If I come to you asking you for some sort of advice or tips, then you tell me at that point, oh yeah, like, I don't think you should. That's different because I've asked for it.
Yeah.
But if you just come at me, it's never gonna go down well. I don't care
Yeah.
how you try and spin it. It's just I can't honestly. Like, I'd love to know if you have had this conversation before and it worked. Let us know in
And
the
it
comments.
went well.
And
What
it went
did
well.
you
Oh my
actually say,
goodness.
or how did you approach
Yes.
it and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, because you've got a point. Like if someone's not asking for your advice and you're just gonna inject yourself in there,
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
probably not gonna go well.
The only time it could go well is when, like, say for example, I don't know. Say for example, it's somebody that you're in the same career field as they are,
Yeah.
and then they put you on game to make more money, and then you make more money, and then they see you doing something like, oh, you've bought certain things, you got a fancy watch, you're driving a nice car, your clothing attire is like gone more expensive, and you're wearing designer brand. At that point, that person who put you on game to make more money obviously knows your financial situation, but obviously they put you on, and that might then be like, hey, I see what you're doing, but like it's not really the best use of your new funds. Consider this and this and this instead. I think that's probably the only time I could see that working, because that door had been opened initially by the fact that that person helped you earn more money.
Yeah.
But if it's a family member, a friend, or just like somebody who wasn't
Yeah.
involved in that journey, I can't see any way out.
Now, the main reason why we brought this subject up is actually because we received a comment on one of our YouTube videos. So let me just open the comment and just read it as is. So the comment was left on one of our videos, can't remember which one it was, but the comment was, my son has been in a relationship for 8 years with his girlfriend. My son's been paying her bills for at least 5 years and has no assets to his name. The gifts only go one way because she always claims that she's broke. She now has a house that she purchased 3 years ago when my son actually has nothing. Why would this girl ever marry him if he's already doing all the things a husband would then do in a marriage? He's more like a father than a husband. How do I get through to my son
My goodness.
And I think the first thing we have to acknowledge about this one is it's probably coming from a concerned mum or a
Of
concerned
course.
parent
Of course.
who's seeing the things that are going on. And this is more the reason why they're asking the question, which I can get now as a parent. The reason why they're asking the questions because they're concerned about their son.
Listen, I be concerned for your son and pray for them, but whatever you do, do not, in my opinion, don't even approach that situation. And from your perspective, you're approaching it with care and concern.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with this. Here's the problem with this example. Yes, you're seeing things happening as an external person,
Yeah.
and you might be right. This is like financial abuse happening, or this is somebody taking advantage of my boy. The problem is this: effectively, what you're telling or trying to tell your son is that, listen, I don't think you should be with this person. That's
Yeah.
effectively what
Yeah.
you're then saying here. Like, we are talking about money, but actually what
We're
we're
talking about other things,
is
bigger
this
things.
relationship all in all, because
Yeah.
maybe the way their relationship is set up is how they've agreed to it.
Yeah.
You are not part of that conversation, so how would you know, right? So for me, that's what I'd say just don't even do it, because unfortunately some sons would turn on their mothers when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
They would, and some people would then start to say, oh, you're making me choose between my mum and my partner, and then it just ends up not
It's
being
a
the
mess.
constructive. Exactly, it ends
Yeah.
up being a mess. And so for me, I'd say, personally, for me, I'd say, yeah, just pray for them in silence, but I don't really say anything, because you're opening a can of worms that could backfire on you immensely. It sounds like right now you have some form of relationship with your son, who's happy to kind of fill you in with what's going on. How do you know that this conversation won't be the thing that your son will be like, Mum, you know what? Like, yeah, me and my girl have decided to move to a different
Yeah.
city, county, whatever. That's like hours and hours and hours away from you, and all because it came from this conversation of you feeling like you had to
Say
help.
something.
But help has to be received from somebody who's looking for help. If they're not looking for help,
Then,
you're not
yeah.
going to be seen as trying to help. You'll be seen as trying to control
Yeah.
the relationship.
And I think another thing that we have to be very mindful of is when you are on the outside looking into a relationship, the people that are in the relationship probably have like a 100% view, so they see everything in the relationship. There's different things that are being taken into account, like you were saying. But when you're on the outside looking in, you're probably maybe seeing maybe 10%,
Facts.
or you've got knowledge of 10% of what's going on, but you don't really know the conversations that have gone behind him, or gone behind her getting the house and stuff, or gone behind him supporting her financially quite a lot. You have no clue. And maybe he's probably not really telling you the full story. But the thing is, like you were saying, unless if someone has asked you for your advice and asked you for your help, you're probably better off supporting with love from a distance than then putting your thoughts into it. Because the minute you open your mouth to say something, like you said, it's tricky waters that you're going through, because you made it very clear. You were like, the way it will probably come across is you saying you probably shouldn't be in a relationship with this person, but to you're just like, no, but I was only just saying be careful how you're spending your money. But because it's also not your relationship, number one, and number two, you're not in it. You can't see everything. You're not privy to everything that happens. You don't know how she's supporting him. But you're just aware of the money thing. You're seeing the money thing or the gifts that he gets her. But because you don't have 100% of the facts or 100% of the knowledge of what's going on, it's better not to make a decision based on 2% of information than 100% of the information. So it is tough. It is tough for you to sit there and watch this happen to your son. I completely understand that, and I can completely sympathize with you. But do you want to say something and risk ruining your relationship with your son in the long run? And he'll probably gravitate more towards the girlfriend once you've done that. Or do you want to just be like, you know what? If anything then happens, I will be here as a mom. I'll be here to support and pick up the pieces with him if we're picking up pieces. Yeah. Choose your difficult. It's difficult either way, but choose your hard, because
Yeah, tough one. So that is it for this conversation. As I said, we'd love to know in the comments if you've ever had a conversation like this. How did it go? and what did you do, and what would you do in this position, right? Would you approach it? Would you forget about it and kind of, you know, just say, I've seen it, but I'm going to say nothing? Where do you stand on this topic? We'd love to know. Let us know in the comments below. It was a pleasure to talk to you today. We'll catch you on the next one.